The country of Madagascar. Madagascar is an island country lying off the southeastern coast of Africa. Madagascar is the fourth largest island in the world, after Greenland, New Guinea, and Borneo. Although located some 250 miles or 400 kilometers from the African continent, Madagascar's population is primarily related not to African peoples, but rather to those of Indonesia, more than 3,000 miles or 4,800 kilometers to the east. The Malagasy peoples, moreover, do not consider themselves to be Africans, but because of the continuing bond with France that resulted from former colonial rule, the island developed political, economic, and cultural links with the French-speaking countries of Western Africa. The animal life and vegetation of the island are equally anomalous, differing greatly from that of nearby Africa and being in many respects unique. Although the coastlands have been known to Europeans for more than 400 years and to Arabs for much longer, recent historical development has been more intense and concentrated in the Central Plateau, which contains the capital city of Antananarivo, or formerly Tananarive. Madagascar is located in the southwestern Indian Ocean and is separated from the African coast by the 250-mile or 400-kilometer wide Mozambique Channel. Madagascar consists of three parallel longitudinal zones: the Central Plateau, the coastal strip in the east, and the zone of low plateaus and plains in the west. Situated between 2,500 and 4,500 feet or 800 and 1,400 meters above sea level. The plateau has been uplifted and worn down several times and is tilted to the west. Three massifs are more than 8,500 feet or 2,600 meters high. The Charatanana region in the north is separated from the rest of the plateau by the Charatanana Massif, whose summit, Maromokotro, reaches 9,436 feet or 2,876 meters and is the highest point on the island. Ankaratra Massif in the center is an enormous volcanic mass whose summit, Chia Fajavona, is 8,671 feet or 2,643 meters high. Ankaratra is a major watershed divide separating three main river basins. Further south, Andringitra is a vast granite massif north of Tolanaro or Faradofai. It rises to 8,720 feet or 2,658 meters at Bobby Peak. The plateau slopes with some regularity toward the extreme southern plain, but its boundaries to the east and west are more abrupt. To the east, it descends in a sharp fault by vertical steps of 1,000 to 2,000 feet or 300 to 600 meters. This cliff, which is called the Great Cliff or the Cliff of Angavo, is often impassable and is itself bordered by the Betsimisaraka escarpment, a second and lower cliff to the east, which overhangs the coastal plain. Behind the scarp face are the remains of ancient lakes, including one called Alaotra. To the south, the two steep gradients meet and form the Mahafali, the Androy Plateaus, and which overhang the sea in precipitous cliffs. Toward the west, the descent is made in a series of steps. However, in places the central plateau is bordered by an impassable escarpment such as the cliff of Bongolava in the west central part of the island. To the extreme north, the plateau is bordered by the low belt of Ambohitra Mountains, which includes a series of volcanic craters. The coastal strip has an average width of about 30 miles or 50 kilometers. It is a narrow alluvial plain that terminates in a low coastline bordered with lagoons linked together by the Pangalanes or Ampangallana Canal, which is more than 370 miles or 600 kilometers long. To the south of Farafangana, the coast becomes rocky, and in the southeast there occur many little bays. To the northeast is the deep bay of Antongil or Antongila. The western zone is between 60 and 125 miles or 100 and 200 kilometers wide. Its sedimentary layers slope toward the Mozambique Channel and produce a succession of hills. The inland or eastern side of these steep hills dominates the hollows formed in the soft sediments of the interior, descends to the sea in rocky slopes. The coastline is straight, bordered by the small dunes and fringed with mangroves. The currents in the Mozambique Channel have favored the offshore deposit of alluvium and the growth of river deltas. On the northwestern coast, there are a number of estuaries and bays. This coast is bordered by coral reefs and volcanic islands such as Nosibe or Nosibe, which protects Ampasindava Bay. The steep eastern face of the plateau is drained by numerous short, torrential rivers such as the Mandrare, the Mananara, the Faraoni, the Ivondro, and the Maningori, which discharge either into the coastal lagoons or directly into the sea over waterfalls and rapids. The more gently sloping western side of the plateau is crossed by longer and larger rivers, including the Onilahi, the Mangoki, the Chiribihina, and the Betsiboka, which bring huge deposits of fertile alluvium down into the vast plains and many channeled estuaries. The river mouths, while not completely blocked by the sediment, are studded with numerous sandbanks. There are many lakes of volcanic origin on the island, such as Lake Itasi. Alaotra is the last surviving lake of the eastern slope. Lake Chimanampezosa, near the coast, south of Toliara, formerly Tulyur, is a large body of saline water that has no outlet. The central plateau and the eastern coast are mainly composed of gneiss, granite, quartz, and other crystalline rock formations. The gneiss decomposes into red murum, laterite, and deeper and more fertile red earths, giving Madagascar its colloquial name, the Great Red Island. Fertile alluvial soils in the valleys support intensive cultivation. There also are scattered volcanic intrusions that produce fertile but easily erodible soils. Lake Alaotra is a large sedimentary pocket in the central plateau, containing some of the island's most productive farmland. The western third of the island consists entirely of deposits of sedimentary rock, giving rise to soils of medium to low fertility. The original inhabitants of Madagascar are Austronesians and Arabs. The human settlements were made about 2,000 years ago. Austronesians from southeastern Asia were the first to arrive. Theoretically, ethnographic evidence shows that their materials culture of looms, smelting knowledge, canoes, architecture, food crops, and agriculture were known. Bantu Kiswahili-speaking peoples of Eastern Africa who may have brought the Austronesians with them are linguistically and culturally proficient Kiswahili users. Around AD 900, trade flourished between Eastern African peoples and the inhabitants of Madagascar. This may have influenced the evolution of the earliest site at Mahilaka on the west coast. The fact that this site consisted of stone buildings and mosques characterized it with early mixed cultural integration between Africans, Arabs, and Austronesians. The inhabitants of Madagascar had a low level of technology which they used for the construction of simple arts and crafts, buildings, fishing, agriculture, and trade. They largely lived on nature's bounty. This made it possible for each of the three tribal races to avoid segregation by encouraging cooperation in order to combine efforts and obtain the available resources for their survival. The main language which all the 18 tribal communities use is Malagasy.